in the same way that people have preferences for how they put their hair away, and I do recommend trying this. If you have very long hair, you can also tuck the length of your hair into a braid and down the back of a costume if you have a high neck costume. But in the same way that people have preferences or techniques that work better for themselves for putting your hair away, there are preferences for wig caps. I prefer a fishnet, in part because I do use a fair amount of hairpins. This means that I will never catch the pin in the cap, but will allow me to pin right through to these anchor points, which I discussed earlier. So this is a nicely sized one. They are essentially foots of tights with elastic sewn around. But if you've ever tried to sew a fishnet or even regular stocking to an elastic, you'll know why this is. You may as well just buy them. So, yep, go beyond your hairline so that you get all the snags, the flyaways. Speaking of snags, there is a little link. Just, oops, there we go. So I prefer to pull my ear out than to try and pull the wig cap over the wing nut, in part because this is where I have my tiniest flyaways, and it's just easier to not even let them escape rather than try and tuck them back in. Woohoo! And then right up to as far as you can go. This is just to hold the flyaways. The wig cap should not be used to hold your hair in place. In part because once you start putting the wig on, this is going to shift about, and especially if you have a slightly small wig like I have. So here is Elsa, straight out of the suitcase, which is why she's all lovely and fluffy. But I need to retire this wig, unfortunately. Here's a do not do. I accidentally put all the weight of pinning my wig through the very end of the wig cap, sorry, the lace front, and there's a lovely big hole in it now which doesn't, there we go, there it is. This doesn't actually show up so much once you wear it, but what it does do is cause the rest of the lace to bunch up and become thicker, so it winds up ruining all the hard work of trying to disguise a lace front hairline. I'm just going to take a few of these long U-shaped hairpins out that I use because they have crystals on them, but they are functioning hairpins that I do actually use them to hold the wig to my head. So that's everything that's going to poke me in the head. You can see a few pins left over from taking this off. I am a terrible person. I usually wear these wigs for several hours at convention and then I just want to pull the whole thing off. So this whole technique allows me to essentially peel a wig off from the back towards the front. So the next thing to do is to just talk about the different parts in the wig. So there's the lace front. It's quite nice and deep on this brand. This is Wig Fashion on eBay, and it's got combs at the front and the sides, and it should have combs at the back, but this is a slightly small wig, so I guess they decided that it doesn't need it. So that's the lace. It's essentially it's just a tulle, and this has a hexagon pattern. Some laces have more of a diamond pattern, but this is a hexagon. And then you've got the support lace elastics, which give this a certain amount of stretch, but you'll also find there are sections that are stabilized, and this is where the majority of the hair is actually sewn. So this is how far in the combs sit from the hairline, so you can see why I really need my anchor points, because that's a lot of wig that you cannot pin through either, because the lace is so fine. So I'm going to try and put this on. My hair has started to spring out at the back, but that will be fine. That's pressable. I mean, I can hand press it, which means it'll stay in place once I've got the wig on. If I get the wig on. This is usually the hilarious, feel like you're wrangling with a squid for a few minutes. So I'm lining up the comb with the anchor point I have just behind where this wig cap has started to slip to. So wish me luck. This is a slightly small wig, so it is going to cause me a few problems. And I'm going to hold the wig just by the comb and stretch it over the back of my hair. There we go. So that's now in place. I can turn the comb forwards of the point where I want it to go, and then push it back. And the same with the side combs, bring it right to the front so the combs point forwards, and then let them slide back. And this side will be the harder one because you've just stretched the wig over to one side. So hold combs to the front of the hairline as far as you can go, and then turn. It's a bit painful, and push back. And oh, look at that poof. That's awesome. That is some high hair. The Coco gentleman would be so jealous. So the very first thing to do is pin this. Again, you push forwards and then back. And that's now anchored through that ponytail. So the next ones to do are the side. Leave a tiny, well, not so tiny, slightly chunky piece of wig. Sorry, I was just twisting. I'm twisting over for this side. And again, this side I start the pins back and then pull forward, and that just loops some of the hair into that pin to really anchor it. I use the word anchor a lot because it's super important to hold the wig in. Again, turn over so that the strands underneath go over the top, and once again back to capture here, and then forwards. Oh, and look at that, I've got some hair escaped. Good thing I've got lots of these. And again, go back, catch some of the hair, and then forward, and that's right where everything is, so it's a little bit tender. So the next thing to do is start pinning the underside. This you can use straight pins for. I'm not sure if I can show how I do this, but you can see how much of my hairline shows up. So pull that down. There's a strip of non-pinnable material here, so you want to bring that as far down as you can. Oh, I've just lost my hairpin. And then kind of find somewhere that you can pin through the hair, and then disguise it by softening. And I do that on both sides. Now, you're not supposed to open pins with your teeth, so I'm going to try and not do that this time. There we go. And you do a cross over that pin that you already have in there in the same direction. So if you pin this way, and you want to anchor that really firmly. You cross, but in the same direction, so the ends are from the same way. If you pin, sorry, this way, you wind up getting far more twisting than you would. So I have to get out of that habit. Then you do the same. There is a natural point in this wig where you can put a pin through that the wefts will then disguise. Once again, there is a reason why people use their teeth, because it's easier than using both hands. But don't do it. It is seriously, you can crack your, or chip your teeth. So that's now anchored in place with very few hairpins, and it is actually a fairly small wig. And now you get to tidy. So I'm going to want, and as you can see, I still haven't pinned this down, and that's for a reason, because this is very delicate and prone to there we go, slipping. The most important anchor point is here, and then these two combs, and once you've got those in place, you can glue the lace front. I think that's turned, yep, it's turned under, that's why it's not quite so hidden. There we go. And that is one problem with these pre-bought, well, not so much pre-styled, but pre-bought wigs, is it's not perfectly shaped to your hairline. So this is where you get a little bit creative with glue and pins. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this very well on camera, because it's lower resolution than a mirror, obviously. So bring it forward, a little bit of vertical tension to keep that against your face. And I'm using a very big hairpin for this, and you kind of guide it and slide it as far along as you can. I don't trim my wigs along here. I fold the material up and behind. Sometimes that's really good for helping your pin hold in place better. And I use a variety of pins. These are the very good quality dressmaker pins. They've got that slightly longer and very soft rubber part on the end. It's more like a soft plastic than rubber. And try and do the same, and try and catch that first hairpin if you can. I didn't, so I'm just going to hide that a little. I love these hairpins because you can use them to tidy away the tiniest, shortest flyaway from your wig. Here's another big hairpin. I'm going to fold that lace under. Not too much. Apparently this wig is slightly lopsided. And again, try and catch the lace and not the wig. That's not as successful as the other side, however, dysfunctional. That just caught the other side. So this is unglued, just pinned in place. I usually prefer only putting a tiny bit to hold the peak down, and it looks like I don't actually need to do that this time, so that's great. I have a few more of these hairpins left. Okay, slightly bugging me. I use a a bristle brush for everything, because this is natural bristle and natural wood, which means it absorbs oils and makes everything super smooth as you work with it. So I'm just going to put one more hairpin there. Found a stray pin from the last time I wore this. Voila. Little black hairpin which nobody can see, and just settling the braid to fall on the nape of my neck, and then put a pin in to hold it, which can then disappear into the wig. So voila, putting on an Elsa wig in 16 minutes, not too bad. Obviously for a convention I do a lot more tidying, but this is just to show the difference hair colour makes to a face shape. So I'm starting to bring forth the Elsa, even with a low quality wig. So I'm going to just tidy a little bit, and then I'm going to start working on the makeup.